Greetings to you all and welcome to the lesson Leadership and Management. The topic is Project Management. Today we are studying project costing. Project costing, or what we can also call project cost management. In today's session, we will discuss the project cost management processes. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to discuss the project cost management processes. But first of all, what does project costing involve? Candidates, project costing includes the processes involved in planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling costs so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. Okay? That's the meaning of project costing. It's a process. It's not an event. No, it's a process, and there are various stages in the process. The process involves planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, managing, controlling costs so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. Okay? So, project costing, in other words, is primarily concerned with the cost of resources needed to complete project activities. If you are to carry out project activities, resources are required. And if resources are required, then the resources have to be costed for. Costing of the resources that are needed to complete project activities. So, project cost management should consider the effect of project decisions on the subsequent recurring costs of using, costs of maintaining, and also costs of supporting the product, the service, the results of the project. For example, candidates, limiting the number of design reviews can reduce the cost of project but could increase the resulting product's operating costs. And another aspect of cost management, candidates, is recognizing that different stakeholders measure project costs in different ways and also at different times. So having said that, let's now outline or discuss the project cost management processes. Project cost management processes. What are these project cost management processes? The first process is known as, number one, plan cost management. Plan cost management. Number two, we have estimating cost. Estimate the costs or costs. Number three is determine the budget. Determine the budget. Then lastly, number four, controlling of costs. So the first one is a planning of the cost management, planned cost management. Now, this, candidates, is the process of defining how the project's cost will be estimated, budgeted, managed, monitored, and controlled. And the key benefit of planned cost management is that the process provides guidance. The process provides direction on how the project cost will be managed throughout the project. And we have to note that the cost management planning effort occurs early in the project planning and also sets the framework for each of the cost management processes so that the performance of the processes will be efficient and coordinated. That's why in the project life cycle, we have project planning being the second stage. So the cost management processes and their associated tools, including the techniques, are documented in the cost management plan, the cost management plan. And the cost management plan is a component, a key component in the project management plan. Plan, cost management plan, cost management plan. The second process is that one of estimating costs. Estimating costs. The estimating costs is a process of developing an approximation of the monetary resources that are needed to complete project work. And what is the key benefit here? The key benefit of this process is that it determines the monetary resources that are required for the project. This process, candidates, just like the first process, is performed periodically throughout the project as needed. So a cost estimate, we can say, is a quantitative assessment of the likely costs for resources required to complete the activity. So it is just a prediction that is based on the information known at a given point in time. So cost estimates include the identification and the consideration of costing alternatives to initiate and complete the project. And we may have things like cost trade-offs, things like risks that should be considered, such as make and so on, all right? So you may have things like buy versus lease. We may also have buying of resources. We may have such trade-offs as sharing of resources in order to achieve optimal costs for the project. So cost estimates are generally expressed in terms of units of some currency. It may be shillings, dollars, and so on. Although in some instances, other units of measure such as staff hours or staff days are used to facilitate comparison by eliminating the effects of currency fluctuations, because currencies have a challenge of fluctuating. So to avoid such, then this cost can be estimated in terms of staff working hours and so on. So costs are estimated, it should be noted that costs are estimated for all resources that will be charged to the project. And that may include, but not limited to, labor, materials, equipment, services, contingency costs, facilities, as well as special categories such as allowance for inflation and so on. Estimation of cost estimation. Then number 3, we have determination of the budget. Now, candidates, after estimating the costs that are required to complete a project, then the next obvious process is determining the budget. Determining the budget. Now, this is the process of determining the budget is a process of aggregating the estimated costs of individual activities, all right? Aggregating, putting together, summarizing and putting together the estimated cost of individual activities or work packages to establish an authorized baseline. An authorized baseline. An authorized baseline. To have what we call an authorized baseline. And what is the benefit of this process? The key benefit of this process is that it determines the cost baseline against which project performance can be monitored and controlled. And the process can be performed once or at predefined points in the project. So a project budget includes all the funds that are authorized to execute the project. After estimating the cost, after assigning the cost, determining what costs are needed at each level or under every activity, then there has to be a budget that is developed, what we are calling a project budget, which the main benefit of having a project budget is so that that budget can determine the cost baseline, It is the basis upon which or against which project performance can be monitored and controlled. That's the purpose of determining the budget. Then lastly, I've just mentioned controlling. You can see the next obvious process is that of controlling of costs. Controlling of costs. Controlling costs is the process of monitoring the status of the project to update the project costs and manage the changes to the cost baseline. When the project is underway, then continuously the project cost must be compared against the cost baseline. And the key benefit of controlling costs is that the cost baseline is maintained throughout the project so that you can take care of any variations that may arise or variances between the cost baseline and the actual cost. So the main benefit is to ensure that the process is maintained throughout. The cost baseline is maintained throughout the project, and it is performed throughout the project. This process is performed throughout the project. So candidates, updating the budget requires knowledge of actual cost spent to date. This cost baseline, the budget that is determined in step 3, has to be maintained, has to be updated. And to update it, you require knowledge of the actual costs that are spent to date. So that now begs for what we call monitoring of the expenditure. So monitoring of expenditure may be required, and monitoring of expenditure of funds without regard to the value of being accomplished for each expenditure has very little value to the project. So much of the effort of controlling costs involves analyzing the relationship between the consumption of project funds and the work being accomplished for the expenditures. So that's why it's important that a cost baseline is established through a project budget, and is on the basis of the project budget that the cost can be controlled by comparing the actual expenditure vis-a-vis the cost baseline, and the objective is to ensure that the cost baseline is maintained throughout the project. So that's all we can say as far as project cost management process is concerned. I'm going to give you one assignment as we close our today's lesson. Citing benefits, discuss project cost management processes. That's what we have been learning in our today's lesson. Each process in the project management process, each of these processes, I've explained what the process is all about. I've also highlighted the benefits that may accrue to the project as a result of carrying out the 4 processes. The process of planning cost management, estimating costs, determining the budget, and controlling of costs. So thank you for attending our today's session. I'll meet you in our next session where we continue to share knowledge in project management. Thank you. Bye-bye.